Welcome back to the 1111 Synchronized broadcast. Everyone, take a deep breath in and let it out. All right, I hope this is meeting everyone in good spirits. Hope everyone is doing well, staying safe, staying put, staying home, and breathing it in. All right, if you have any topic requests that you'd like to hear, please send them to my inbox at Agent K21 Podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Agent K21. Find ways to reach out. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know if you want to be a feature on the channel or if you'd like me to be a feature on yours. I'd love to collaborate. Let's go. All right, so today is a Monday motivation for those of us who are in this time-space reality. It is a Monday here in the East Coast. So I have a special guest that will be joining me later, all about motivation, primarily geared towards motivation. So please stay tuned to listen to that. You're going to want to hear this. If anyone needs a pick-me-up, this is the person to pick me up, okay? So what is motivation? What is motivation? Right? There are many things that can motivate us throughout our life, throughout our experiences. You know, growing up in school, we are motivated to, go to school, to see our friends and get good grades so we can advance to the next level, get good grades so our parents won't be mad at us or whatever. And then we move into young adulthood. We get motivated to get a job, right? We get motivated to get a job or a career to make money. Then we get motivated to make that money so that we can keep and have nice things, so we can provide for our families and our loved ones. And so all of these things are great motivating factors. They're very externally focused though, right? And so as times are shifting, how do we stay motivated in uncertainty? How do we stay motivated in a season of difficulty? How do we stay motivated when we are unmotivated, right? When we're struggling, where do we find that motivation? So to me, motivation is what gets you up in the morning. It's what keeps you going. The primary thing that motivates, in my opinion, is having a purpose. Now, I believe everyone has a purpose, whether they realize it or not, whether they know it, whether they're operating in it, whether they change it. They have a purpose. We are all purposed. We all are created with creative elements in us. We are here to design and create our realities and create an experience. And we all have purpose. Some of us don't know what those are. Some of us haven't tapped into it. Some of us may have abandoned it. And that's okay. Wherever we are, wherever stage we're figuring out or unlearning, it's all right. It serves a purpose even in those places, even in those dark stages. In every phase of our life serves a purpose, just as the moon illuminates in every phase. No matter what phase it's in, it's always whole, and the same goes for you. So if you have trouble figuring out what your purpose is, wondering if you have a purpose, I did an entire episode about purpose. That was last season 3, episode 12. So if you wish, please check that out. If you're needing a little bit more guidance on that, maybe something that's said in that episode will resonate with you. And it's quite all right to not have a purpose or to not have figured out what that is yet. But to me, what gets me motivated is knowing a purpose. What motivates me is having that internal locus of control, right? It's not focusing on the external events. Things will always change externally. It's finding that stability. It's finding that groundedness. It's finding that one thing that doesn't change, My love for people, my love for the environment, my love to share, my love to learn. Those are things that don't change. My love to create and connect and to share and to illuminate and to be a guiding light, to counsel. All of those things are a part of my purpose. And they motivate me, What motivates me to continue this podcast, whether people are listening or not, I would still be here. Right? Because it's not externally motivated by what's going on in my surroundings. It comes from my own inner drive, my own enjoyment of doing this. I'm motivated. So I continue to put out information, And as this current season 4 is winding down, before I start a new one, I still keep the same level of motivation from season 1 till now, because it's not based on anything external. It's based on that internal drive. And there's a saying that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Now, a lot of people may be working or not working in places that they don't enjoy. And that really limits our creative abilities. That really takes us away from who we truly are. That cannot motivate us in the morning, right? If we wake up in the morning and we dread getting out of bed, we need to refocus our motivation. People are motivated to work out, fitness, exercise, just different things that inspire motivation, right? What is that for you? What motivates you to keep it moving, especially right now in a time of uncertainty? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated when you don't know what's going on and you don't know what's going to happen? How do you continue to move forward and put one foot in front of the other? It has to come from a place of self. It has to come from a place deep within that no matter what, you can't give up. You can't give up on yourself. You can't give up no matter what everyone else is doing. If you have a dream, if you have a vision, that will motivate the hell out of you to continue to pursue that, because it will manifest. It will come to fruition. If it's a desire of yours, it's going to happen, because your desires of your heart are placed there for a reason. So you must pursue them relentlessly. That will motivate you to get up and do whatever it is, and also figuring out, what are we motivated from? Are we motivated from a place of fear? Are we motivated out of obligation? Are we motivated out of wanting to seem productive in the world view? Are we motivated for the authentic reason for you? Now, it's not about right or wrong. It's about what authentically aligns with you. I might be motivated to stay in bed all day. That's my prerogative. That's what I'm motivated to do. And that's perfectly all right. So it's not about judging yourself for the motivations you have. It's about aligning to what actually works for you, And if being motivated out of fear of pain or fear of rejection or fear of anything, if that is working for you to be motivating, that works. There may come a time where that shifts into being motivated by love instead of fear. But honor wherever you are at that time, doesn't mean it's a negative motivation. That's just honoring and recognizing, this is what motivates me. I'm motivated to go get that money, honey. That's all right. Say that, claim that, recognize it. And if you feel guilty about that, then maybe reassess and say, okay, maybe that's a byproduct, but what is my actual motivation? And so, it's all good to be motivated. And, there's a lot of people who, I was thinking about this earlier, and this passage came to mind. I was thinking about service. I'm motivated to serve others. And I just thought, in this time of servitude, in this time of being homebound, it's the people who are serving who are still working, and right now you're really feeling influx or an imbalance if that's not your true calling. If that doesn't get your heart racing to serve people and you do it gruelingly, it's going to become so apparent. So I want to thank all the servicemen and women who are out there serving their purpose right now, who know that this resonates with them to serve others and to help others, especially in this current pandemic we're experiencing, because it's those people who are healing and helping and motivating others to try another day, right? Every day above 6 ground is a blessing, and another day to be motivated to continue to pursue your dreams and your vision. So that's all I'm going to say for now about motivation. I'm going to say a lot more here shortly. So please listen to this conversation. My friend and I are going to talk about motivation, and hopefully it will inspire you. Hopefully it will uplift you. However it greets you and whatever you receive from it, know that it's for you. However it resonates is exactly what you need to hear. So if these messages are helping you, please feel free to send them to other people. Share the message. Subscribe to the page, subscribe to the channel, leave a rating, leave a comment, however you choose. It's all greatly appreciated. So thank you all for listening. I'm going to take a quick break, Stay tuned. Until next time. All right, so welcome back to the 1111 Synchronized Podcast. I have a very special guest today. Very honored to have you on the show today. So, like always, I'm going to let your energy introduce yourself. So, if you could just tell us anything about yourself that you'd like us to know.
First and foremost, thank you for having me, for thinking of me to be a part of your podcast.
Yes.
Um, my name is Rasheeen. I'm a creative. My main form of artistry is that I'm a poet, but I like to say my hashtag is all things creative, all things motivational. So I'm just a authentic being trying to find my way. And on my journey, I just want to bring as much people along with me that they could just follow their dreams. Anything is possible. Dreams can't die, people do. So that's basically what I am. I'm just here trying to just, I don't know, love on as much people as I possibly can, because I know how it feels not to be loved. So
Yeah.
that's, quick sum up of, I guess, who I am.
Yeah, well, thank you. Definitely thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being here. I reached out to you because you definitely inspire a lot of people, and you're doing such good things and just putting out such good content.
Thank
And
you.
you motivate people on the regular. So I want to know, what is motivation to you?
Um, that's an interesting question. Actually, when you first brought it to me that you wanted me to be on the podcast and you kind of told me the title, I was in a very, I don't even know if this is a word, unmotivational place. Like I was not motivated. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really producing videos. And I was like, what is motivation? Because I don't feel motivated right now. And I think motivation is a thing that you could feel not motivated and still be motivated, if that makes sense. I think
Mm-hmm.
motivation is a way of life, is who you are. You don't give up. You have moments where you may rest, where you feel frustrated, but motivation is that boost of energy, that kick that it doesn't look like I'm going to make it. It's like this faith, this something that only that person can see based on. And motivation is also very
Mm-hmm.
personal. So I think motivation is whatever you can make it, because sometimes you can see a post and that motivates you. Sometimes you can just look at a bird flying in the sky and that can motivate you. So I really don't know how to answer that, but I think motivation is the thing that keeps you up at night. Motivation is the thing that you can't stop thinking about even when it looks impossible. So I just think motivation is that invisible cheerleader that keeps you going, whether it be a person, a thing, a family member. It's that invisible thing that keeps you
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I love that just mentioned how this topic was brought to you when you're feeling unmotivated, which I think is such a strength, because often people motivate others or inspire others and they could be struggling themselves. And so
Right.
that kind of segues into, how do you motivate others in the midst of feeling unmotivated, or in the midst of your own challenges?
Um, because as I said earlier, when I was growing up, I was always the odd box. And my family's from the Caribbean. And then I grew up in a place in Florida called, well, Hollywood, known as Coveranges. And at the time when I was growing up, it wasn't how it is now, where everyone is free and like kind of
Mm-hmm.
hippie. There were no Erica Badu's where I was growing up. Everybody was just out here in the street. It was just a different time. So I always had to like suffocate who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And my majority of my life, and I don't even think the people around me meant to do it, but they just put me down. Like before I heard I love yous, it was like, oh, you're stupid, you're not enough, or it was just always a lot of negativity. And I think that was just a survival
Yeah.
mechanism. So I don't think they meant to put me down. So because I know how it feels to just have like so much people putting you down, that was like the base of like, I don't ever want people to feel this way. So even when I'm down and someone comes to me or I see someone, I'm like, you can make it. Because even though I probably can't make it right now, if I could give you hope to let you know, like, just to keep going. I can't explain it. It's just, I just know how it feels to be lonely. And I don't ever want anyone to feel that way. So if I could motivate you, if I could push you, if I could tell you you can do it, I
Yeah.
will. I don't know if I answered that
Yeah, you
question
did.
properly, but
There's no right or wrong way to answer it. And I
yeah.
appreciate you telling that experience, and being vulnerable about that, because you took something that was very painful and transmuted it into love. You know, you used that to kind of be the wind under your wings to inspire others. Like, I know what this feels like, and I don't want people to go through this. I think that's really inspiring, um, you know, that you were able to do that. And I'm sorry at the same time that that was your experience. Not sorry in a pitiful way, but just like, you know, that's such an experience to have to go through, but you turned it into a strength. And that's very remarkable. Um, Now, when you find yourself kind of like in that rut of not feeling motivated to, not even a rut, but like when when you're struggling dealing with your own crisis at the same time, and you're still, you know, putting out your content, you're still doing this, how do you stay from judging yourself, from being not motivated?
Um, Honestly, to be fully transparent, when I'm sometimes it's like a double-edged sword. Sometimes when I'm really down, I can't
Hmm.
produce because when I produce, I always want to come from an authentic place.
Yeah.
So I don't produce just for the sake of producing. And there are other times where I'm so caught up in my mess that I'm like, I gotta break through. I gotta. It's just something that's like you. I'll make a post like you can make it. I don't feel like I don't know how I'm gonna make it. It's just that burst of that invisible motivation comes through. So it just depends, but it's that need to know that this moment it won't last. It's just I like to, I'm a poet, so one of my poems I was like the only thing permanent is death. So outside of that, this nothing will last. The only thing that's permanent is death, and then some people could even argue that maybe that's not even permanent. But it's just to know that this moment would not last. And I read a quote that was like, "You're having a bad day, not a bad
Hmm.
life. So don't let that bad day dictate like the rest of your life." So that's sometimes where I go on. Like, you can't stay in this moment. You may have to stay down here for a couple of hours, a day, a month, but you can't stay down because if
Hmm.
you stay down, that's where you're going to meet your demise. And I don't want to die, not like
Yeah.
that. So, and when I said die, not even a physical, like figurative,
Hmm.
I can't say that word. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
not even
metaphorically.
like
Hmm.
exactly. Thank you. Like that. So that's where that when I talk or when I post, when I'm in a rut, it's like you have to, it's mind over
Yes.
matter. And you have to constantly tell yourself, but you're gonna also you must feel. That's how you learn how to each time something happens, you get a bit stronger to move through it. But you must feel. So when I first started on this peace filled journey, I was so like, no, 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 you're peaceful. You can't be upset.
Mm.
And now I'm like, yeah, you're peaceful, but you could feel frustrated. You have to feel it, but process it in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm learning to do, to process defeat. Well, not defeat, but you know, when
Hmm.
you have those difficult moments, those challenges, when you don't feel like getting up, when you feel don't want to leave the house, when you don't want to eat, you have to know that you're feeling this, ask yourself what's going on, and then process it. And that's how you get through.
Hmm.
That was long winded.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Yeah, because I think that's really important. It's like a lot of times when we feel down or like we're not doing enough, we can judge ourselves for that instead of just kind of observing it and allowing ourselves to feel that, you know. And we've kind of been conditioned to operate off of you got to be happy all the time, you know, or people won't like you or whatever the case is. And
Right.
just like you said, you have to when you post stuff and when you produce stuff, you make sure that you're aligned, like you're coming from an authentic place when you put out your material. And I feel like a lot of times we can feel so rushed in the world, like you got to do it now, you're going to miss the window, and
Right.
you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I feel that we've been conditioned to either be motivated um, by guilt or by fear. And
Mm.
that's not even to judge it as right or wrong, but I feel like a lot of our intention can be, you know, I got to go to work or else I'm going to be evicted. That fear of, you know, whatever,
Right.
or is motivated by guilt. If I don't put out this content, I'm not going to be good enough, or I'm not going to, you know what I mean? And I think that that's one way to motivate ourselves, but I think there's also finding the way to transmute that into something beneficial.
Right. I agree.
And I it sounds like you've kind of done that from just talking to you, just like being able to transmute stuff from, you know, not judging yourself or anything like that. And so you when you're inspiring other people, I'm sure that there were people who came before you who inspired you as well. So who were
Mm-hmm.
some of your influences who kind of helped you get through? Who are
Um,
what?
it's so funny because it's just so many different people, the most random people at that, like people that I don't even know their
Mm-hmm.
names. And currently in this moment where I'm at, I would say, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting emotional. I would say my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I didn't know. My grandmother, quick backstory, she has dementia and she's bedridden. She doesn't really talk. We do everything for her. And my grandmother is so resilient. Like, and that was just when I look at over her life, like that's the motivation. Like she never thought she was enough. I never forget. Like I said, we're from the Caribbean, and she's old school. Like she's an older woman, so having kids out of wedlock was like the worst thing possible. So I remember her telling me a story before all this happened, before the dementia came. She was like, she had two kids out of wedlock, and she said, the next man, she told herself, God, what the next man that comes my way, I'm just gonna marry him, because she thought she wasn't enough, that she settled. And that man was my grandfather, who I love dearly. Like I love him with everything. But was he the best man to her? No. But my grandmother didn't think she was enough, that she had to settle. And that's what my grandma did her whole life. She was very meek. She just settled. And in her settle, she was so resilient,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel that my grandmother is that motivation, that she walked a path so I didn't have to walk that
Mm-hmm.
path. So, like you said, that guilt or fear. So I have to honor my ancestor, honor my grandmother by doing,
Mm-hmm.
because they sacrificed. And just random people. Like I used to live in Chicago. Like when I was pregnant, I had two roommates. So I got pregnant young in undergrad, and they just used to do stuff to make me smile. Like I can't pinpoint exactly cool, but it was just different moments, experiences in my life where I felt like that was just a sprinkle of God shining his light, saying, you can make
Mm-hmm.
it, you will make it. People showing me appreciation or just helping me when they didn't have to, like someone giving me, buying me lunch,
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to answer that
Yeah.
question, but
You're doing it.
to sum it up, I would say someone everyone knows would be, I'll say Erica
Mm-hmm.
Badu. Reason being, because I think she's authentically
Yes.
herself. And like, because Erica Badu is seen as like this spiritual guru, this deep person, sometimes she will listen to music or support people. They're like, Erica Badu, like you're deep, you're near soul. You're not supposed to be listening to trap music. And she's kind of like, there's she's not one dimensional.
Yes.
And the last thing I will share, I'm so long winded, I'm sorry, is I read an article. So Erica Badu is one of the people I look up to, because I read an article about, I don't know if people are familiar with Erica Badu, like back in the day when she used to wear her tall
Mm-hmm.
head wraps and, the arm
Oh yeah.
designs. She said she went to Cuba to meet some type of like high priest. This was years ago. And, she was dressed up in all like this spiritual stuff. And then she seen this guy outside. He had on like thong sandals, some khaki shorts. It was in, I think, a Essen magazine. And she said, so yeah, they're waiting for this priest. And she's waiting, waiting. Finally, it was time to meet the priest. And the priest was the guy who looked so regular. And she said that was the moment that she learned that it's not about looking the part, it's about being the
Yes.
part. And that always stuck with me, that so much of us are caught up in imagery versus truly being who
Mm-hmm.
we are. And that's my motivation, to always be authentically myself, even when being that self isn't popular.
Mm-hmm.
And so Erica Badu would be, to show everyone, that's like my motivation. She's just her. No matter what people say, like, oh, Erica, you're supposed to do this. She's like, I'm just going to be me. And that moment when she went to Cuba, highlighted to her and also to me that it's not about looking, it's about being.
Yes.
And when you're being, you're always going to change. Like the Rasheeen I was 5 years ago is not the same Rasheen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to grow based on experiences, or maybe stay the same. But yeah, that's that.
Yes.
I feel like I'm.
Yeah, definitely. I actually had gave her a shout out when she dropped her vagina fragrance. I
Yes,
gave her a
yes.
shout out for that because yeah, she's always true to herself. And I think,
Right,
like you said, like the more that we're true to ourselves, the more we allow other people to be true to themselves, and
right.
I didn't even know that story you just shared about her. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Um
Yeah.
and I think like you just said, it's like uh not just what you're doing, it's about being. And I feel like right
Right.
now, as we're transitioning in this uncertainty, a lot of people can get so caught up in the doing. But right now, it's
Right.
like we have to just be. And it can be very uncomfortable for people to just sit with themselves and just be.
Right.
How has it been for you, as going inward and everything's kind of shut down? How has it been for you to just kind of be present in this moment?
Um, like I was saying earlier before we started, I quarantine for me has been such a beautiful thing because prior to quarantine, I was just going through the motions. I wasn't feeling, I wasn't sleeping properly, I wasn't taking care of myself. It was like get up at 4 in the morning because I have to be to work at 7, but I live kind of far. So it was just like this just constantly I'm going, not eating properly, living in drive-throughs. So going within was just a beautiful thing. I in quarantine is where I found freedom for me.
Mhm.
Like I had the freedom to just listen to me, listen to my body, ask myself, what is it that you really
Mhm.
want? Because I didn't have to worry about punching a clock. I didn't have to worry because technically we're not supposed to be anywhere. So I didn't have to worry, oh, can you go pick this up from the store for me? I wasn't obligated to anyone but myself. And that's something that highlighted. We have to, even if you have kids, even if you have a spouse, I always preach you are the most important person.
Mhm.
You have to fill your cup before you can pour into your kids' cup. And of course, that's within context. Don't abandon your kids or
Right.
your family. But you have to pour into yourself. And I have a segment that I was going to do on my page saying that I don't want a quarantine breakthrough. I want a permanent shift in
Yes.
my life. And a lot of us are doing things right now that once they open those doors, we're going to forget about. And we have to hold on to the things that we're learning in
Mhm.
quarantine. And I have to hold on to my health. Like when I said I went through the drive-through Monday through Sunday, at least twice, 3 times. Like I was had such a poor diet. I treated myself poorly. Like my feet were hurting. I had aches, and it was just quarantine to me just revealed so much to me, and I enjoyed falling back in love with
Yeah.
myself. And it's not always pretty. I realized that, oh, you kind of have to work on this.
Mhm.
You have to kind of slow down. You probably shouldn't say this. You probably shouldn't do that, but it was just a moment for myself. I don't know about anyone else, but quarantine showed me what true freedom
Yes.
looked like and made me question. So when they open up the doors, what are you going to do different? What are you going to stop doing? What do you need to start
Mhm.
doing? So those are the questions I'm asking myself. Like, how can I continue this freedom when they open the doors? Because it's easy to do a lot of things now in some sense because there's no restrictions. Like you know, but once you start have to live, you have to clock back in, you have to take your child to school again, you have to go to soccer practice, then it becomes much more challenging.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think definitely what you said is like your perception of how you're dealing with the quarantine. It's all about how we want to use this time and what we want to gain from this experience. You know,
Right.
and you also mentioned just just being there for your children. And as a parent, I can only imagine like the strain that it must be to stay motivated. Like I'm sure that your son motivates you to get up, but also how do you motivate your children as a parent? How do you keep them motivated?
Right. That listen, that's like a whole nother topic because I always tell people I'm not mother of the year. I had my own trauma from my own
Mhm.
childhood and I struggle with that. So I struggle with how do I motivate my son in a healthy way, not the way that I've been taught. Because the way that I taught is kind of like my way, no way. Like I'm the mother. You listen to me.
Mhm.
Now I'm kind of like, okay, let's
Yeah.
collaborate. Let me try to hear what you're talking about, but also teaching him respect. So it's kind of a weird place. So to speak on that, I am not the best person, but I just always go back to I know how it feels. So I try. I fail most times, but I try to be like, remember when your mother said that to you? It didn't feel good. So don't say it to him.
Mhm.
Don't do that to him. Try another way. You know. So yeah, that's what I try to do is try to be mindful of myself and be mindful of him, and also to understand that he's also a child. So his mindset is at the level of 11. He's
Mhm.
11. So he's thinking through an 11-year-old lens. Me, I'm 29. So therefore I have more experience than him, so I have to be mindful. I have to feed him what he could
Mhm.
digest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the fact that you feel that you're not the perfect person to talk about this, I think that's exactly why you are the perfect person for this. Because, and just because you might not feel like Mother of the Year, the fact that you're able to acknowledge that, that is so much more than most people can do. And that is already like, I commend you just for that, because being a parent is tough in itself, and especially to unpack all the things we learned from our own childhood, and to not want to pass that on. That's something to be in that's admirable of you, so
Thank
I
you.
think you're probably doing better than you realize. The fact that you're aware,
Mm,
that is, nobody wants a perfect mother. We just want a real mother. We just want someone we can connect to. And I think you're doing a great job. And yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. I definitely thank you for sharing everything. Because, like I said, just right now, I think that a lot of people are having just difficulty staying motivated, because it can be a very lethargic time right now, as people kind of just, the schedule is kind of disrupted. So people are like, what do I do now? You know?
Right.
And is how would you what would you recommend people do to either recommit to their motivation, or to, people who might be depressed or just kind of wanting to give up? What would you say for those people?
I think the first thing I would say is just you have to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. You have to try your best to be as honest as possible about where you are, because the problem is we can't focus on a solution if we are not aware of our current
Mm-hmm.
situation. So I think if you can, try to be as honest with yourself, as brutally honest, as painfully as honest as you can be, and then also understand that you're right where you're supposed to be. You didn't mess up. You're not doing too much. You're right where you're supposed to be. So, right where you are, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, needs you at this moment. And it's up to you if you're going to be open to let the universe, to let God, to let your loved ones, to let, those good people in your life, help you. And I just think starting with honesty, and then once you start with honesty, you start the process of healing, you start the process of motivating, you start the process of doing again. But you have to be honest, and then you have to make sure that the resources that you're pulling from are healthy for you
Mm-hmm.
and where you are. And you just have to know that you can and you will make it. I know it's hard, or maybe it's too easy, or maybe you're happy, but everything is divine
Mm-hmm.
order. Nothing happens for Everything happens for a reason. So I just always say start from honesty, because it wasn't until I was honest with myself stuff started to happen. It wasn't until I said, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm suicidal, I'm angry, I'm bitter.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I admitted those things that I start seeing a transformation. Because before, I didn't know I had mommy issues. I didn't know I was sad. So if I didn't know I was sad, I didn't know that I needed to be
Mm-hmm.
healed. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I'll just say start from honesty, be kind to yourself. Everybody's fighting a battle. I know everyone heard that quote. Everyone's fighting a battle. And lastly, I will leave you with this. At the end, it's a quote. I don't know who wrote it, but it says, at the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, that means it's not
Mm-hmm.
the end. So, whatever you are going through, just know that it can and it will get better. I'm not saying it's going to get better tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now. I don't know when it's going to get better, but you have to know and you have to believe that it will get better. And your faith in that healing transformation process is what's going to pull you through those moments where you feel like I can't do this, and know that you are loved. I genuinely love you. I
Mm-hmm.
may not know who you are. You may be two continents away. I don't know. But just know that I love you and there's somebody out there who needs your
Yeah.
story. So start from honesty and open yourself to the universe, and it will be all right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much just for being here, taking the time to talk with me. I so appreciate it. I'm so grateful to have you here and just sharing your story and everything that you've said. I am very honored to have heard it and to be able to pass it along. So thank you so much. Um,
Thank you.
Before we go, though, I want to give you a chance to just give yourself a little shameless plug if there's anything that you like to say as far as where we can find you, information, resources, that kind of thing. Please let us know.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you. Um, yep, my name's Rasheeen. You could find me on Instagram at Rasheeen Motivates. That's Rasheen Motivates. Also, same thing on Facebook, Rasheeen Motivates. I am working on my website. So if you go to my page, everything will be linked that you need to know about me. And also stay tuned. I'm going to have my second annual mid-year check-in vision board extravaganza. That this year is going to be a virtual event. You guys stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing event. It's going to be transforming. It's just going to be everything. So stay tuned for that. It's virtual, super affordable. It's going to be 1750. It's going to be in June, and it's basically a mid-year check-in. You know, in the beginning of the year, we make all these goals, vision boards, we do all these things, but oftentimes by the 6th month, either we fall off or we forget about it, or maybe we just need to revisit and like realign. So that's basically what it is. It's just a moment for us to create a new vision board for the next 6 months of the year.
Yes.
And thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
having
much.
me, and continue just doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
We need to hear it. The world needs to hear it. And I'm always encouraged when I see your posts. So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Absolutely. Well, you guys heard it here. Please connect with her. Everyone, take care. And until next time, later.
Peace.